The views expressed on this episode of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Recovery Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this episode should not be taken as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guest. KHLT and Take 12 Recovery Radio are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. Well, greetings, my friends. I am the Monty'man from Take 12 Recovery Radio, and this is the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast. And now, here are your podcasting broadcasters, Tom Williams and Alicia Martinez, to introduce this week's show.
Welcome back to the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast. We have a gnome with us, of course, with Monty'man. Hello, gnome.
Today is National Take Your Gnome to Work Day.
It's not.
It is. It really is. This is Cecil, and he dressed up with his best plaid today, just to celebrate National Take Your Gnome to Work Day.
Cecil. Hi, Cecil. Okay. And I'm Alicia from the West Coast, and Tom Williams is there from the East Coast. Monty is on the West as well. Hi, guys. How was Memorial Weekend?
Uneventful for me.
Me too, which is exactly how I like it. But I think Tom might have more exciting things to talk about.
Well, yes, in New Jersey, or at least in the Williams/Oheney, which is the in-law side of our family, we have a yearly ritual, and it is that we run the Spring Lake 5, which is a 5-mile running race down in Spring Lake, New Jersey.
That's a lot.
I've done it 19 years in a row. So this is the 19th year.
Wow.
It's the largest 5-mile run in the country. And the largest run of any tour in the state of New Jersey. 12,000 people.
When you do these things, have you ever tripped and took a nosedive?
No, but that's an interesting question. Interesting because these massive people take off.
Yeah.
And you would think much more of that would happen. And I've actually, in all my years, I've never seen a big pileup ever. Everybody is pretty careful and you move through it. I have ever had times under 35 minutes, which is a sub-7 pace, which is for me, that would be really good for me. I haven't done that in 5 or 6 years with my hips and my knees and, don't say it, age. I know somebody's thinking it, but.
Oh, I thought we were going to say you need to get that surgery.
Well, that I do have to do. But, I was with my friend and we were going to walk it this year because it doesn't matter, walk, run, you finish it. But we said, well, we'll start jogging because what the heck, we can jog. So we jogged the first mile, and it was not so bad. And I thought, all right, well, we'll walk a little bit, and we'll jog, and we'll walk, and we'll jog. Let's get through it. We ended up running more than walking. At least 4 miles of it was done running. We did it in under an hour. It was wonderful. Sore for 2 days. Couldn't
That's
even walk.
awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you.
But it's the start of the summer in New Jersey. It's like the first big event. It was a beautiful day. And we took a ride up to Asbury Park, which is a very famous kind of historic, nostalgic town on the Jersey Shore. Bruce Springsteen has that album, Live from the Asbury or something. And the convention center, I have a lot of history. When I was young, in high school, went to concerts there all the time. And so we went and did that. And then a barbecue at my sister's. And then into the city yesterday. So we had a fairly relaxed weekend, but the Spring Lake 5 is the highlight of every Memorial Day. We do it every year.
Don't some of your family do that race too with you?
My sister does it. And my sister Beth, who, by the way, gets top 100 women like every year out of like 4,000 women.
Awesome.
She's in top 100 like every year. And when we like take off, she just is gone. You don't even see her anymore. She's and my brother-in-law runs, and a couple of his nephews run. There's usually a gang of 6 or 7 of us in the group that run, and it was that way this year. It's a different cast of characters every year, kind of, but it's just so much fun. And I love this time of year. The days are long. It's warm. The sun's out. This is just the beginning of summer. In the Jersey Shore, everything's open now. All the everything. The beaches. It's just a really great thing.
Have you ever been to the Hamptons?
I have been to the Hamptons.
Yeah. So one of my favorite shows is called Royal Pains, and it's supposedly filmed in the Hamptons. I don't know if it really is or not, but that's a place. Very, very wealthy people live there, right?
Southampton. Yeah.
Southampton.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, the Jersey Shore, the houses that are on the beach would be the same level of people, multi-million-dollar
really?
home.
Okay.
Yeah, The weird thing about the Hamptons, Long Island beaches, and New Jersey beaches are, on Long Island beaches, the sun goes over you from the left to the right all day. And from the Jersey beaches, it comes up off the ocean and goes down behind you. So it's weird.
That's weird.
Because the island faces east and west. So the sun comes up to your left and goes along, and then it comes up over you. Like you get the sunrises on the Jersey Shore. You come out on your deck in the morning and the sun's coming up over the water. It's gorgeous. But in Long Island, it comes up to your left. You don't really get that. Alicia's perplexed. She's saying, what? I don't understand. She's not a beach girl, I guess.
I'm not. And I'm not a summer person either. Like when you were saying you love that it's hot and that this, and I'm like, I like when it's dark at 4:30.
Oh no!
See, I was not a beach person until Marcia and I met. I mean, my mom loved the beach. I don't like the salt air on my skin. It just right.
And the sand
I'm a redwoods and go backpacking in the High Sierra kind of guy. I did it for years. So I'm a mountain guy. Well, I've come to appreciate the coast because of my wife, right? But I something about the salt air, man. It's just like when you don't have anything up here to filter it. It just kind of gets sticky and gooey and, that kind of thing. But, oh, well, to each his own.
Yes.
More room for us on the beach then, that's all I say.
So what are we talking about today?
Yeah. Yeah, what are we talking about?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Tom. Go ahead.
No, nothing. Just blah, blah. We could blah, blah for an hour.
More blah, blah.
Folks listening to us,
We're going to talk about practicing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, practicing the gray.
Gray.
Right, no more black and white thinking. And
okay, let me ask you a question, though, right off the bat. Is it G-R-E-Y or G-R-A-Y?
I know.
It's a question for the ages.
I think the color is A-Y, but I put E-Y. But then what would E-Y mean? Do you know the answer?
Well,
I have no idea.
Let's ask Google, because this is totally worth it.
I think it's... For the color, it might be AY. Does that sound right?
Maybe.
And maybe
Tom, you asking Google?
for more of a mood, being gray mood, it could be EY? I don't know.
All right. Of the two, gray occurs more frequently in American English, while gray, EY, has historically been the spelling preferred by British. What's the difference between gray and gray? There's no real difference. When you use gray or gray as a color, there's no real difference.
Okay. How weird, huh?
I told you so.
How would you have spelled it? Would you put an A in it, Tom?
I think I would. It says the answer is that both are correct, depending on who you ask. Gray is the preferred spelling in American, while gray, EY, is the word how the British spell it.
British?
Both variations of the word come from Old English gray and are pronounced the same. So
We've now solved the world's problems.
We have
But it's interesting, right? It's like,
It is.
that looks
All right.
right, but is it right? When I wrote it out, I put an E in it.
So
I thought it was right. Then I got to thinking. You know what happens
right.
when we think?
All right, here. Let's go to like a definitive example. Right, Crayola crayons.
What do
they say is gray? Okay, this has got to be as good a
They probably have
measure
an A.
as anything. Crayola, they know everything, right? When it comes to colors, they spell it Gray. Gray.
Do they?
Crayola
But not in
is
the
gray.
UK.
But in the UK, is there Crayolas with Grey?
Well, you're just complicating
I
this
bet
thing,
it's you.
guys.
Jump on a plane, go to the toy shop in downtown London.
Yeah. Well, you know what? How funny this talking about this and goes right into our theme of practicing the gray.
It
Are we going
does.
to be dogmatic on how to spell it? Or are we going to be okay with the E? Or do you like the A? Do you switch off back and forth? That's practicing the gray, right?
Yeah, but you know what? Okay, this is what I'm thinking. When we're talking about practicing the gray, my demented alcoholic thinking, see, I'm blaming it on that instead of my own.
Which you don't have
Guess so.
anymore, but go ahead.
True, but I'm going to pretend.
Okay.
I love it when people say, "Well, you know, I'm an alcoholic. That's why I think that way." How long you been sober? 43 years. Been giving back? Oh yeah, I sponsored 20 guys. You love Jesus? Absolutely. Okay. You may want to rephrase that. You don't, but that's what we do.
But we fall back into old habits
Yeah,
sometimes.
but
What were you gonna-
the bottom line is the selfishness, self-centeredness I can fall back into because I have a sin nature. But here's, you know what? See, and I totally forgot what I was going to say.
She
I
threw
said-
you for a loop, Monty.
I
She
know,
called you.
black
threw
and
you for a
white
loop.
thinking. You were going to probably.
She did. So this was what I was going to say. So if we're thinking in the gray, I mean, don't we have to be careful that we don't end up compromising? Because aren't there some things that are black and white and should never be altered from black and white?
I love that outlook. Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But then how would we discern to know if it is or not, if we're justifying or not?
I think that's where the Holy Spirit comes in.
Like, give
Well,
us
give
an
us-
example. Let's think of an example.
Well, murder's not okay. All right? It's no gray area.
Yeah, you can't
All right.
justify that one.
I think, yeah.
Here's one. God will never ask you to sin to accomplish his will. Ever.
Well, that's
Right.
true.
Yeah, that's black and white.
Isn't it?
What this is. Yeah.
Oh,
Some
yeah,
people
yeah.
think so, though.
Yes.
I have a buddy
mean-
that said, you know, I need to go into that using environment and actually use with those people so I can get my girlfriend out.
Oh,
And I said,
yeah, no.
I said, hey, brother, God isn't asking you to sin to accomplish his will. His will is to get your girlfriend out. We get that. We got to get her out of there, right? But for you to compromise and go use so you can identify with these people and they trust you to get her out of there, that's no. That's not.
I mean, the Yankees are better than the Red Sox, black and white. I mean, we just never have to,
Of course, he had to go there.
you know. So
Where's
well,
Dale?
let's go from the other end so we can walk into this because I'm with you. Because I will often say today, and I know Alicia had some good examples that as I've gotten older, I just don't make absolute statements anymore, and that's the gray. I think I'm careful about. I will never do this. I will never do that. That is never this. That is never that. You know, above the category of these major, you know, clearly black and white things, I'm much more careful about not making those kind of statements anymore. And I think that's living in the gray. I don't know if that made any sense.
Yeah, like when people say, I've always been this way or it's always been that way and I can't. Is that what you mean? Like that?
Yeah, I will never eat seafood ever. Well, I don't know that that's true. I can say right now I don't enjoy seafood. But for me to make that
Right.
black and white statement that seafood's no good and I'll never eat it, I have learned that's just not a smart thing for me to say because things have changed. I don't know. And here's the other thing is I think I'm much more gray for other people where I'll say, I know what it is for me, but I don't know what it is for you. I'm not going to make that choice for you.
That is a great point. Yeah, because something gray to me might not be gray to my sponsees or to you, or for like.
Give us one of your gray examples, Alicia. Give us one. You had a couple in our.
Did I? Now I'm getting all confused. I'm like, okay, what am I even thinking about?
We may maybe we end this thing and say there is no gray. I mean, Monty sent us down that road now. That there's.
I know, right? Well, is it like when I was in my addiction? Tell me if this fits. I might just be making it fit. Like if I wanted to eat something and then I ate something that I said I wouldn't, then I would just throw it out and then just binge. Like either I'm on track or I'm not on track. That's black and white, right? And more of a gray thinking would be like, okay, I made that decision. Now what can I do? Let me make a good decision now and not just push it out to the side.
Well, I think
what other options do I have?
I think that's allowing your emotions to dictate your behavior. I don't know if that's black and white or gray. You know what I mean? When we make these passive aggressive responses towards things that we do. Okay, well, I did this, so now I'm gonna. Well, heck, I had a beer. I might as well go out and get drunk. I blew it already.
Yeah,
I'm an alcoholic.
Well,
right?
Isn't that black and white? Like all or nothing? It's like
yes,
you're either perfect or you're gonna go get drunk.
I mean, that's where God either is or he isn't. Right.
That's black and white.
That's black and white. Either isn't. And I'll tell you a good gray for me these days. I was thinking about it. It just is a gray for Tom, but I think it makes me also more approachable, especially in the workout world, where when I was training 15 or 20 years ago, I would have said, you have to do this, you have to do this. If you don't train this way, you're training wrong. These are the parameters. And I will often say now, if it works for you, it's okay. Train the way you want. If push-ups are good, there's a lot of different workouts that work. If it's working for you and you're getting your results,
Exactly.
I don't know what the right workout is for you. I mean, as long as you're working out and moving, I mean, there's risk to that, I see, but then you're saying there's benefits. There's squats. I would tell you shouldn't do squats, but now I say, I don't know. Maybe if done correctly and you're at the right age for the right reason, maybe they're okay for you. And I would not have said that maybe 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so those kind of things is a great.
I was at a Memorial Day night party, and a guy you remind me now. There was a guy that was pretty drunk, talking to me about his bodybuilding days. He's 60, so this is like 30 years ago. Knowing that I work out, but I don't know if he knew who I was or what I do, and been teaching for 20 years and blah, 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 and carnivore. Right. But he's talking about, well, you have to do this and you have to do, he's explaining all these exercises and everything. And it was just, I wanted to like say, I did. I kind of said, yeah, I do that. I have that machine and blah, 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 blah. But it was again like, well, he can think that's fine. That's gray, right? He can do that and get his results, and I can do this. But
so does the end justify the means? Is what you're asking yourself, right? If the result, the desired result comes to pass, whether you're doing squats or whether you're doing something else, it isn't that big of a deal, as long as you get the end results you want. But right. I don't know that that's a healthy thinking in everything, right? Because I watch people live in the gray when it comes to working the steps, thinking that they're going to get the same results as the guy who's black and white in working the steps. You know what I mean? And so, somebody that says, well, because I did this. I was a born-again, Bible-thumping Christian when I first came into the rooms of the 12-steppers. So I didn't think I had to do 1 through 3. Right? Well, that's great for me. You know, I'm already a believer. I don't need to do that. And so then I tried to start with step 4, right? And I failed miserably because I thought it didn't apply to me because I was unique. You know, so I could live in the gray in that. Well, the truth of the matter is, at least for me, the steps are black and white. And so I don't know. My mother-in-law used to say, you guys said something a minute ago, and I was thinking about this. I have a brother-in-law who we did not get along for the longest time. He was just kind of a potato head, man. I just, you know, and
What's a potato head?
He would just not be very nice. And my mother-in-law said, well, that's just the way he is. You know, that's just him. And I'm thinking, that's a cop-out.
I think so, too.
Cop-out. You know, he just lives in the gray. You know, we have to compromise when we're around him. And I'm like, no. You know.
Yeah.
So I love that, Mon. You got me thinking
Boundaries.
now because the steps are steps. You can't skip them. So that wouldn't even be the gray. That would just be not doing it, like you're not completing it. But so yeah, I'm with you. There's no gray. If you're kind of using them, that's half measures. You're beyond gray. You're just, you know, not. It's like you can't play baseball.
You're not doing it
in the gray. You have to play it or you don't. So the steps, but once there's some flexibility in the steps, as far as if you wanted to go a little deeper in your 4th step and write columns and do it deeper, you wanted to stay a little. I mean, there's some window that still accomplishes it. You could take a little longer doing the 9th step or doing this. You could be really strict about your 10th step with the papers and all the stuff we do, or do it just yourself. You could write the 10th step out every day like the British do, and we don't say that. So there's a little, but I don't know if that's called the gray. That's just a flexibility in it. Does that make sense? But you have to do them or you won't get the results.
Steps.
You have to thoroughly follow their path. Thoroughly.
So I have a sponsee right now that while I was gone in Pasadena, he was working on his 4th step. And I didn't have a chance to kind of focus on it out of the workbook with him. And my intention was to do that when I got back. But so he wrote 30 pages of stuff. So at first I was like, but when I was talking to him when I got back, the truth is he needed to do that. He has never looked at any of these things his whole life. A lot of real traumatic stuff happened to him. And he needed to do that. He just needed to do that. Now, though, okay, that's fine. But now let's look at causes and conditions. Let's look at what's fueling these things, right? And in the workbook, we have a list of that stuff and the opposites of them. And so we're going to be going through that when he gets back from Washington, where he's at visiting his kids right now. And then we'll move forward. So for me to say to him, no, you're doing that wrong. You're going into too much detail. I needed to allow him to do that without criticizing him. You know what I mean?
Right. And I don't know if that's the gray, but that's the flexibility
I don't know if it's
of it.
the gray
There's nothing wrong either. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's totally. Yeah. So we're not finding really good examples of gray so we're talking ourselves out of this gray, right? I think.
I know, like, does this even exist?
It's in a real surfacey place. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that what comes to mind is the quote, "We cease fighting anything or anyone, including alcohol." But I take it out of context and I use it a lot in different contexts. I cease fighting anything or anyone. It's not important enough for me to drive my point home. To cause all the turmoil that it's going to cause, and maybe somebody's going to agree with me. Maybe. You know what I mean? And that's been really hard for me because in my other shows, I'm introduced as the overly opinionated 12-stepologist, and that is an accurate description of my thinking. I am overly opinionated, and God has really been working on me about it. But there's so much of it. I'm like, yeah, but God, right? Yeah, but God, you don't get it. This is what your word says, and these people are violating that, and they wonder why they're crashing and burning. I need to point it out.
Well, I think you do, but maybe in a loving way. Okay, God made you that way. Am I justifying? Aren't we supposed to point out things to people if it's appropriate?
Well, as long as there's no log in your eye. There can't be a log in your eye.
Well, there's always logs in our eyes,
That's
though.
the thing.
There's always logs.
And it can't be done in
but
judgment.
maybe not in that specific area. So if I'm having a difficult time being honest with my wife, and I'm lying to her, and I'm covering stuff up, and blah 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 blah, and I got a buddy over here who's having the same issue, but I'm not working on mine at all. Right? I need to go take care of my side of the street. Now, if I'm having trouble lying to my wife, but my buddy's having trouble in another area that I'm free from, I can address that with him. So I think it depends on what it is. If it's the same issue, then I really don't have a place, because I don't have any credibility. Because he's going to go, well, you lie to her too,
Yeah, but then that could be a good opening for you to go, ooh, I do. Let's help each other. Let's work on this together.
Yeah. We had a saying in Teen Challenge. It was like, you got to watch your own bobber, right?
Yeah.
You do need to take care of your side of the street, or at least be in the process of recovering from the damage that it's caused, and live in a recovered state with it. At least be in the process of working on it before you go telling everybody what they should do in the exact same area.
Yeah. Tom, are you going to say something?
Well, just I find, I guess, that as we're talking this out, I go back to what I said before, and I don't know even if it's called that I live in the gray, but I just don't make absolute statements so much for people anymore. You need to do this. I'll say, I actually don't know what you need to do. I said, here are the things, and whatever it is, and if it's working for you, whatever it is, fitness or nutrition, even though we know some answers for sure, if someone's fit, healthy, their numbers are good, and they're not having any issues, and they're eating completely wrong, who are we to say? I don't know. And I say, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Instead of, you're just absolutely wrong. You're no. Music. I'm way like that.
It is hard to keep our mouth.
Right? And say, I don't know. I don't like that music, but that doesn't mean it's bad. This is more gray for me. It's that music.
So that came up.
All right.
That came up. That music thing came up in a discussion when we were down in Pasadena.
In the car.
And
oh yes,
one of the brothers said, I can't listen to that kind of music. The Holy Spirit won't let me. And I felt like it was a little bit of a, you know what I mean? He won't let me. So you probably shouldn't either. That just may be the way I took it. I was like, I think he was driving a point home. Maybe not. Maybe he was just expressing his own personal experience.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But I found myself kind of checking myself. Well, I really haven't talked to the Holy Spirit about, the Eagles lately.
And Led Zeppelin, and because we were listening to Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, and one of probably the most poisonous rock and roll song in the world has the verse, and it's Led Zeppelin's "Stairway to Heaven." It says, "There's still time to change the road you're on." No. You have that kind of thinking, you don't know if you're a heartbeat away. So I can look at that and go, we should unpack that song sometime and see the danger that's in it. But do I throw out all of Led Zeppelin's music? I don't.
Yeah,
Is that
that's interesting, though. And that's another point of we need to be okay with him doing that and me being carnivore and Tom doing his thing, and maybe in a year we'll feel the same as him, and we're kind of like all on our own paths and journeys.
And that
but I don't know what that has to do with being gray.
The song is, I don't think they sat back and said, we're going to make a theologic statement here and say the road you're on. I think they meant if you're not happy with your life, you can make a change. We would say that you can change your life. You come take the steps and take a change. Maybe it's so. I think it was a surfaceier thing, but I hear you.
But the song's called "Stairway to Heaven." Isn't it?
If you do a deep dive into this group, find out some of their history, they were into some pretty weird stuff. But most rock groups at one time or another kind of dabbled in some pretty weird stuff. Tell you the truth,
I don't. You see what I'm saying? I don't. And the music doesn't make me. So think about that. But this is a thing where, and I'll say this: if the Holy Spirit of God is leading you not to listen, good for you. Don't listen. I get a green light. I don't get any red light about it.
Be obedient.
Yeah, I don't get a red light about it. I enjoy it. I love playing the guitar. I don't think that much about it. It doesn't poison my head. I enjoy playing guitar riffs. It's all about the music and freedom. I had no issues at all.
Listening to it. That reminds me of, I hope we're still on the same topic, but whatever. We'll just take this path. I go to a yoga studio, a hot yoga. I know, and some Christians think it's satanic and blah, 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 which I can see their point. But if they even get any funky, I'm like saying Jesus in my head, and I don't believe that, so I keep going. But I know people that will not go to regular yoga studios, and I understand that, but I'm going right now.
Well, it's kind of like my home group may be one 12-step fellowship, but I may visit some buddies at the other 12-step fellowship. You know what I mean? And the one 12-step fellowship may say, "Oh man, what are you doing?" Those guys. Hey, I could. It's not a big deal. If you have a hard time replacing powerless over fill in the blank, then you're probably going to have a hard time with a lot of things. But I don't know. I think there is a place. I think there's absolutely a place for black and white, and I think there is a place for gray. I mean, there's got to be, right? I have a buddy. My sponsor used to say, because I was very dogmatic about their traditions in the very beginning, because I thought I was so smart, right? I'm gonna go up and fix that group. They're gonna follow these traditions, blah blah. And my sponsor goes, "You know what, Monty? Their traditions are written in Jello." I went, "Jello?" And he goes, "Absolutely." He said, "Sure, they shouldn't be broken, but they must be flexible, because otherwise they will break." And it was like, it totally changed my viewpoint on the traditions, and myself. So is there a gray area there? I think so, because I don't know that the traditions always apply today. I'm going to get in trouble saying that, huh, Tom?
Oh my!
Tom agrees fully. I don't even know what the traditions are.
Protect yourself. Don't go there.
Well, here's a gray area again. I say I don't, but maybe I don't know about the traditions. If you want to follow me, and I don't. What we say is they didn't exist in the 30s and 40s when we're doing the program the way we're doing it. They didn't feel like they needed them then, and so if you feel like they help you, I don't know what to say about them. I mean, there's some. Our board chair would argue how they're wonderful and necessary, and if used like your friend says, and not so legalistically, they provide some good boundaries and some good policy stuff for us. I say, okay, I just don't need them.
Yeah, I took some things out of them. I did a show with Carol Ann Preston, applying the 12 steps and traditions in your personal and business life, and it opened my eyes, particularly the whole self-supporting thing. And so Take 12 Recovery Radio, for instance, it was determined with my wife and I that it would have to remain self-supporting. We were not going to pull money out of our pocket of our household to operate this thing. We were never going to charge for it. It's for fun and for free. There are some podcasts out there you have to subscribe and pay. We were never going to do that. Still never going to do that. But it had to be self-supporting. Now, have we adhered to that completely? No. We pull money out of our personal account to pay for this thing every month. But the goal is to someday be completely self-supporting. After 20 years, you'd think we'd be there. But no, I'm not going to look at that. I'm still sticking to the goal. So we're not black and white with it. It hasn't destroyed our family finances. It's made it really challenging, but it hasn't destroyed it. And so we've been gray about that. We've been flexible about that. So maybe we're talking about just being flexible and not so dogmatic in our thinking about everything. We should take a break. We need to take a break.
Right.
And we must take a break. Okay, folks, we'll be right back. Don't go away. Check this out. Hey there, my friends. Thanks for tuning in to this week's Came to Believe Recovery Podcast, a production of the world's oldest recovery talk and recovery music radio station, Take 12 Recovery Radio. Did you know that we have thousands of archive shows, recovery workshops, and recovery music, all available for you for fun and for free? Here's an idea. Right after this episode, visit our website at take12radio.com and subscribe on any of the podcasting platforms listed there. Why not begin enjoying the best in recovery talk and recovery music, all at take12radio.com on your internet dial.
This is Brody Cooch, and you are listening to the recovery talk and positive music of Take 12 Recovery Radio, home of the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast.
It floats back to you, love boat. Soon we'll be making another run.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you're depressed and you're feeling blue, there's nothing that'll lift your spirits that a good old theme song from a cheesy television series.
The Love Boat.
Gilligan's Island, I Dream of Jeannie, Bewitched, The Love Boat, Maddox, Happy Days. I mean, just throw some of those things on. Get yourself a cup of coffee with 3 shots of espresso, and you'll just
or 5 in Tom's case.
But we're talking about living and practicing the gray, and on some of the talking points included with this was no more black and white thinking, 10th step practice, and dogmatic ways that can lead to more addiction. So, Alicia, what do you mean by 10th step practice?
I was thinking, like, if anyone catches themselves in the black and white thinking, to be aware of it and to think, like, am I thinking black and white here? And be open and honest about it. And which is just an ongoing learning process, right? And I was trying to think of more examples. I don't know if I'm just blinded or, I mean, that where I fall into black and white thinking. Do you guys still fall into black and white thinking now?
So let me tell you something that Marcia points out to me, and it drives me nuts. Sorry, honey, if you're listening. I'll say, our son really should approach this like this. And so I'm thinking to myself, my life experience after 68 years knows about this, even though to him, I'm just the old guy who doesn't know anything, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm sharing it with my wife. If he would approach this situation like this, the outcome would be much better. And this is what she'll say. That's what you would do. And I'm like, that's what the mature person would do. She goes, no, that's what you would do. And she says that a lot to me. And I'm like, I don't like that, you guys. That drives me nuts. It's like, I'm right. Doggone it.
Well, that's like we're expecting other people to be like us, and we can't.
But it's so much
Unless
better.
they're asking, unless your son or whoever asks you.
I know, right?
But yeah,
It goes
I
back
do
to them.
that.
If all the actors on the stage would just do what they're supposed to do, the play would come off well, right? But they all think they're the director.
Would you
Monty,
notice that you were doing that?
Everyone at the airport needs to get out of my way. Everyone at the theater needs to get out of my way. If I don't care who's on the train once I get my seat, but it's a problem until I get my seat. They're all in my, all. I'm with you. Don't they know who I am?
Well, doesn't our
Yeah.
life experience account for anything? I mean, come on. We got a little bit of wisdom,
there's
don't
some
we?
wisdom, but Alicia's got it. Unless they're asking, unsolicited advice is, right, tough to be taken. I mean,
know.
Sometimes a word of, hey, I need to tell you something when someone really needs correction is one thing, done in love. But
Yeah.
I do things. Why does we go back to who hangs the dish towels the wrong way? And why does somebody leave the toothpaste on the left side and not the right side? And who uses one towel or two towels? And I don't know. Whatever works for you, But it's that kind of stuff. Nobody's asking. But I can't tell you how many times, Monty, I've seen to someone and said, if you just do what I tell you, I've been through this. I used to be I've been through that. That's what you would do, Uncle Tom. All right. But you're right. But, we'll see.
What do you think, Alicia?
I'm trying to think of where I fall into black and white thinking, and I'm sure that I do, but just catching it and
with black and white thinking? You don't know where
I
you
do,
fall
right?
in black and white thinking?
okay,
You.
then help me. It's
Alicia Martinez.
being
Don't know where.
so it's like intolerance and perfectionism being right. That's black and white.
I just can't
Then
believe you even said that.
definitely me.
I can't even believe you
That's-
said that.
Okay, then yes.
Should
So give me an
anyone
example.
Should anyone eat
Really?
anything but meat? You have a single
I'm
answer
okay
for that.
if they're.
You're not looking to roll her
Yes.
eyes, Monty. She's not okay.
No,
with it.
I don't expect everybody to be carnivore. I don't. I think they need to get rid of sugar and carbs, and if they're diabetic or overweight, then there are things that we can do.
Then why did you say, hey, everybody, there's cheesecake? You said that. You
Wow.
invited it to the table.
Well, because you're going to eat it anyways.
Oh, no. Oh, hey, there's booze. You're going to get drunk anyway. Come on now, Alicia.
Wow, we're
I
getting
caught
burned,
you.
Alicia.
I caught you.
Well,
I thought
I'll
to
take
myself-
that a step further. She said, get that cheesecake for everybody at the grocery store. I said, you're telling
Well,
me to
you
get
were
it? Yes, get
grabbing
it.
for it anyways.
Oh, yeah, my fault. Well, that's always it too, right, Monty? Look.
But let me tell you something, though, Tom. To be honest, though, and this falls into the accountability thing, how important accountability is. Sometimes we get unsolicited accountability, and it's okay. One of the reasons that I didn't eat that cheesecake is because Alicia was there, and I just didn't want to do it. I thought, this cheesecake isn't good enough for me to eat it, to see her look at me with those eyes. It just wasn't good enough. And guess what?
It was pretty good, they said.
But you know what? I didn't feel like poop 30 minutes later.
Exactly.
Guess who
didn't.
did? Roger. I shouldn't have eaten that. So it was, I never said to Alicia, keep me accountable, but just it was kind of like, okay, I appreciated it. I wouldn't tell her that then because, wah, but
Right. Same at okay, you're giving me another example of and remembering I was at this party where I used to live in this neighborhood 2 years and we moved a year ago. And in the beginning, they were thinking, because I've been carnivore 4 years, they thought I was insane and stupid. Now my clients are carnivore. They are healthy and amazing, and they're spreading everything through this neighborhood. And so 5 of them are coming up to me, and they lost all this weight that they wanted to because now they are carnivore, and they don't think I'm stupid and crazy anymore. And it's just like, see, I'm right. I told you.
no, she's got an ego the size of
3
Maine.
years ago.
You see that? Look at that.
But again,
This is the black and white, yeah.
you don't have to be carnivore, but you could be keto, you could be low carb. I am black and white on that, I think.
Well, you're crazy.
I guess.
That's for sure. I mean, the crazy
But
part.
I'm not. These people are off meds. They're not depressed anymore, and they lost all the weight. How is that
Well,
crazy?
I'm just saying in general.
Yes, I am. That's fine.
Yeah, it's just in
So
general.
it's all in the approach, right, guys? Isn't it all in the approach? Really?
It is. Yeah,
I
it's.
know. But, well, black and white, too, though, for throwing myself under the bus, let me do it. If which I did, gain 2 pounds over the retreat weekend when I was
I thought
looking
it
at
was
you
5.
guys eating all the cake,
It was
and I
5.
brought my own food. Well, now it's 2. I gained weight.
I'm sure there's something in here about this.
So that was like God, maybe this is blasphemy, but God like slapping me down and like, you need to stop judging other people. And I gained weight and I still have 2 pounds on me and I'm really mad about it.
Yeah, but sometimes biologically that just happens. We didn't do anything
I'm
wrong.
not okay with that at all.
There's no exception.
I'm not okay with that. And
Alicia
I'm
in the
not.
gray. She's not, right?
I'm not.
And I'll
But
put a pound or 2
is
on it,
this
whatever.
gray?
It comes right off.
That's not good with somebody that has suffered with eating disorders,
So,
right? So what
yeah, you're different.
black and white thinking for me, I was like, I'm going to starve myself. And that was my first thought. And I had to be like, that's not a good idea. I'm not going to do that. So I had to force myself into the gray. But I'm very upset about it. I
At
am.
least
We're
3
gonna
phone calls and a half a dozen texts about it, Monty. So don't, yeah.
I'm just
Eat a
not.
donut. Chill out, man.
But it's not okay.
I told her it's a blip on the radar. Let it go. Fix it. It's a blip.
So let me tell you this. I love telling this story. My sponsor and mentor tells this story. It's great. So this guy's coming into a meeting. He's been coming there for months, right? He goes, you guys keep telling me, keep coming back. It gets better. You keep saying that, if I work this program, it'll get better. And, you just always say it's going to get better. I want to know, when is it going to get better? And this old guy speaks up and he goes, kid, it'll get better when it's okay just the way it is.
But not when I gain 2 pounds. That's good for him. It's not good for me. No, well, what about the fact of accepting it, surrendering to the fact, but fixing it? I will lose that 2 pounds.
Sure. Okay. Then work on fixing it. But,
what can I do to...
It comes back to the serenity prayer. What is the part that you can do to change it? The other stuff, you got to dump it. Just do what you can do, right? So that's what the Holy Spirit told me when I came down to changing, and losing the weight that I've been losing, and I'm still dropping. What is your part? You're not doing your part. What can you do? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's difficult, but you can do this. You can stop eating this. You can start eating this. The carbs and the sugar and blah, blah. What can you do? And so as long as you're doing your part, there's other stuff that we're not in control of. Like you're doing everything right and you gained a pound overnight. What's that about?
Well, there's something.
Okay.
Something.
Oh, well,
I did.
you know, my body went wackadoodle overnight. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to eat the right thing this morning. I'm still going to, jog, in a neighborhood where I may be murdered.
Oh, is that me?
Mrs. Health
That
here.
neighborhood was sketchy, but I had to run. They wouldn't mess with me. Tom said I would be safe.
You guys were out of time. Any
Yeah.
closing thoughts before we bring our song on?
Well, I think the only thing we agreed that there's a gray area in the gray area. We don't know what there is. No gray. Maybe there isn't such a thing. I mean, I think in a serious point, though, that there are some principles and there are some things that we got to adhere to in a pretty strict fashion, or our lives just don't go the right way. And that there's some room for us maybe to not be so judgmental on others and come to people with love and come at them that way, then put our strict code of absolutes upon them at any specific time. And I think there's probably, if that's the gray, then I'm okay with it, as long as we aren't compromising along the way. And we can keep going.
I would say just everybody ask yourself honestly, maybe ask a spouse or a friend of, are you black and white thinking in any areas? And where can you be more gray? And be honest with yourself of where that is, or pray about it, and just think about it. Like, have you ever thought about it before? Are you black and white? Are you gray? Where do you want to be gray and you're not gray?
Good word. Good word. All right. As promised, I think you're going to love this song, you guys. It is by a really good friend of mine. His name is Brian Duncan. And this guy's hilarious. You're going to love this. And then there'll be a closing thought at the end. So this song is entitled, If You Want to Be Lonely, Just Be Right All the Time. Here's Brian.
Here you go. If you wanna be lonely, just be right all the time. Take your own advice only, and then just stand in this line. Let me tell you something. It don't start no argument. You know I know I'm right. And things I think you should have learned by now. Woo! That's advice. You don't make that face at me, cause you don't want that fight. Cause once you know, it's easy to know how. Just when you get a clue and think that you're no fool, life has this funny way taking you to school. If you wanna be lonely, if you wanna be lonely, oh yeah, just be right all the time. Sing it with me one time, good. Take your own advice only, and then just stand in this line. Come on, yeah. I try to compensate, but I've learned a thing or two, and it's harder now just putting up with you. Oh yeah. Just when you get a clue and think that you're no fool, life has this funny way of taking you to school. If you wanna be lonely, if you wanna be lonely, just be right all the time. Just be right all the time. Simple as that, baby. Take your own advice. Take your own advice only. Yeah. And then you stand in this line. All the time. If you wanna be lonely, just be right all the time. What now? Just when you get a clue and think that you're no fool, life has this funny way of taking your heart to school. If you wanna be lonely, if you wanna be lonely.
In recovery, we learned that our symptoms, the drinking, the using, pick your poison, are not the root problem. we had to get down to causes and conditions. So if the problem is not the symptom, well, then it stands to reason that it must come from a deeper source, right? Perhaps it's within our thinking that we need to consider a change. But just how do we change our patterns of thought when we have been saturated with wrong teachings and oftentimes deliberate, deceptive instruction? Well, interestingly enough, in the Hebrew culture, the brain and the heart are one. When the scholars of old would speak of the heart, they were referring to the thought processes of our brains. What is in the heart of a man is therefore what he thinks. And as Scripture teaches, out of the abundance of the heart, a man will speak. The Bible also teaches that we should refrain from leaning upon our own understanding or thinking, but rather acknowledge God in all our ways and thinking. And when we do, God is faithful to light our path. He will make our path straight. When we seek His ways, our thinking changes, and we see life from a higher vantage point. I'd like to close out this episode of our podcast with the words of the Apostle Paul in writing to the church at Philippi. Paul leaves them with this admonition: whatever things are true, whatever things are honest, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think upon these things. It's something to think about. Came to Believe Recovery strives to create and promote opportunities for life-changing spiritual experiences for individuals and families suffering from all forms of addiction. For more information, help, and support, visit cametobelieverecovery.org. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be your host on this episode of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast. And I would encourage you to like, bookmark, and subscribe to this show. When you do, you will join the Take 12 Recovery Radio family and will be notified of all of our recovery-focused shows throughout the week. Until our next broadcast, when we provide the essential spiritual tools needed to thrive by sharing our experience, our strength, and our hope through our stories of how we came to believe.
This has been a production of Take 12 Recovery Radio.
Kitty, kitty, kitty. Meow.
Woof, woof.
This has been a Chicken and a Pig production.